Good evening and welcome to the Cheeseroom podcast YouTube edition. I'm your host as ever, the caller, joining you from a rather sticky, sweaty man cave. And I've got a few problems going on tonight. I've had a fly buzzing around my head all pre-broadcast. So HG's been laughing at me because I've brought my executioner racket into the man cave. And basically what this does is anything that comes in, it's a little button on the side and it gives a massive electric shock. Well, I'm not sure about a massive one, but it gives an electric shock to the fly, takes its wings off, and thank God I will be fly free again. So I suppose the point of me telling you this is if you see me chasing around the man cave during the broadcast with a weird looking faux tennis racket, that's why. Joining me, is it sweaty in Austria, HG? How are you doing today?
Not as sweaty as it has been. I mean, it was still like 25, 26 today, but considering we had 35, 36 not too long ago, today feels almost pleasant. A nice breeze. Yeah, so it's weird to see everyone going crazy in the UK about a heat wave that over here, you might put your air conditioning on for. I don't know. I've got a fan going. It's not too bad. It's nice. Summers here are nice. If anyone has never been to Vienna, come on over. I mean, you can't now, obviously, but come on over in the summer. You can do pretty much everything you want to do. Mountains aren't too far away. We've got lovely beaches close to the river, places to go swimming. It's not, and it's all quite close. It's quite a small city. So get your butts to Vienna and watch some cheap football and all the rest of it. And the beer's quite good. I mean, I'm no expert, but Paula can tell you the beer is quite good.
The beer's very good. Very good. I've had a few specialties on the old the Blade, I think it's called. Not that I want to market other companies, other beer machines are probably available, but yeah, the Blade. Gosser is in there at the moment. You heard of Gosser, HG?
I have. Gosser, yes.
Gosser.
Yeah, the O has an umlaut, so it's Gosser. Yeah, Gosser has the best slogan in Austria as far as I'm concerned. So I don't know what the beer's like, but I like their marketing. It's like gut, besser, Gosser. It's a play on the words of the old, it's good, better, best, good, besser, together is Gosser. Yeah, I'm a language nerd, so I like it.
All this talk of beer is making me thirsty. I've just got a couple of bottles of chilled water tonight because I don't want to dehydrate during the show. I hear it's your anniversary, isn't it, HG? Congratulations. How many years happy are you?
Happy? No, look, obviously, for my mother who may be watching and anyone else who knows me, 7 years we got married ago today. And because it's a happy marriage, my wife has already gone to bed, so I can do this. No problems there. And 7 years. It feels weird to say out loud. I mean, I know my daughter's 5, so it makes sense. But 7 years, I don't know. Am I old enough to do this? I guess so. Yeah, well, I know it's probably a small amount to many of you that watch, but it does feel like a long time. But it's been a nice day, good weather, and we've had fun as a family. So, here's to the next 7.
I mean, it's 7 years more than me, so what do I know? So tonight we're going to try and get through a load of transfer rumours, a load of stuff. But before we come to that, there's obviously, I do have to say, send us a super chat, drop a comment in the box, let us know you're here. Please do like, share, subscribe to the podcast. All those things really help us out. The ultimate sign of support is a super chat. Feel free to do so, and that guarantees your comment will be read out by myself and discussed on the podcast. HG, before we start talking transfers, did you watch the pre-season friendly the other day against Leyton Orient? How was that?
Actually, I did. As boring as that sounds, Saturday afternoon, 3:00. I was tempted to watch the rugby league because my mum's local side, Castleford, were in it. But I thought, no, I'll watch Spurs. Spurs are my one love, right? And so, I kind of regret it. It wasn't a great game to watch. We didn't look amazing. The first team players that did start, like Dyer and Winks and Bergwijn and Lucas. Delhi was obviously playing. I don't think any of them looked amazing. I know that it's the first game and probably fitness is more important, but still, if you're going to be testing your fitness, can we run around a bit more? I know it was hot, but it just felt as if no one really cared. which I think is sad because you think, the first game under a new manager, everyone should be out there trying to impress. And I got the impression that it was kind of safe. Harry Winks played a few nice balls in the first half, trying to hit it over the top for the run of the fullback. But yeah, it was very pedestrian. And I got bored watching it, which I don't want. Even in a preseason game, I don't want to be bored. I want to think that Spurs are attempting things they've worked on the training ground, or they're just trying to combine well as a team. And I didn't see any of that personally.
Harry Winks, did he get spat at outside the stadium by Red HG? Is that true or false?
I think it depends who you believe. Like, I know Anthony Costa from Blue came out and said, I was there. And he definitely got spat at. But I saw the video. I guess there's one video doing the rounds. If he was, no one reacted. I mean, not even Winks, but no one in the area reacted. You didn't hear any commotion. You didn't see anything. So I don't think it's true. I think the other hypothesis was that it was a hair from someone taking a photo of the hair just kind of flew forward. It's plausible, but I don't know if Spurs fans hate Winks that much. Like, I know there's a few who would rather that he wasn't around, but that seems a bit low. I don't see Spurs fans doing that. Certainly not the ones to make the effort to actually go to a game, right? A preseason game. Like, if you're paying £60 and you've been losing week in, week out, I can half imagine it, but not on a random Saturday in mid-July. No.
A charity game, basically.
Exactly.
I believe proceeds went to Justin Edinburgh Foundation. Did they, HD?
Yeah, I don't know if it was all of it, but certainly a lot of it went to that foundation, and it's great because they do a lot of really good work. I think we've seen. I mean, I watched it, and they interviewed Charlie Edinburgh, and he said that people who have the cardiac arrests that his dad had and that Christian Eriksen had, that the survival rate is just 1 in 10.
Yeah.
Because you need to have a defibrillator there, and that's not good enough, right?
Yeah.
I mean, these things, if we're raising money to make sure that sporting areas have them, or schools have them, or whatever, this should be happening. Because Christian Eriksen's not even 30, Justin Edinburgh was not even 50. It's just randomly happening, and people, if the defibrillator is there and people know how to use it, it will save lives. There's no can, it will. So what they're doing is great. And I think they said that on the website you could sign up and try and get sign up to a petition so that a law can be made that I think sporting clubs in the UK need to have them. Yeah, I mean, yes, that needs to happen, right? So if you can do that, then you should.
Yeah, absolutely. And Charlie's been on the show, on the podcast before, so keep up all the great work you're doing with that, Charlie. Okay, moving on to some transfer news then. So there's lots of players to talk about because it seems that Paratici, as we've touched on before, has just got a bit of a scattergun approach when it comes to transfers. Rather than, focusing on one or two, he'll pick 10 and then you'll find out sort of who's the winner of the Join Tottenham lottery at the end of all of that. Is that about fair dues, HG?
It does appear that way, doesn't it? Look, I understand the idea of, it may be beneficial for a negotiating position if you think that the other side thinks you might go somewhere else with your money, but I don't think that it can be that much of a help. It's very odd, maybe 2 or 3, but not 10. I guess it helps the whole managerial search. This idea, yeah, we went for 10, and at the end we picked the one that wanted it. Yeah. Is that what we're going to do with players? It's odd. So as much as I like the fact that Paratici clearly knows the Italian market, we've seen for ourselves this summer that Italy have a really good national team, and maybe Serie A has a whole bunch of players that we just don't know about. But it's very odd. I mean, because we go from Demiral to Tomiyasu to Koundé to Lacroix. I mean, it's there's so many possible options, and I might have a favourite, but you'd think the club must know which one they want. And is all this really worth saving the club a couple of mil? I don't know. I'm
not sure it is good about saving the club a couple of mil, really, is it? I think it's just his negotiating style, isn't it?
Well, possibly, but he's negotiating what? To lower the price? Isn't that the whole point?
Well, I think he's sounding out a lot of players as well and seeing if they're genuinely interested in Tottenham as well. I think to be honest, I think there's a lot to it. When you anyway, let's talk names. So we've been linked with a goalkeeper. so, of all things, I mean, that's a position I didn't foresee us needing anyone for this season, because I don't think Hugo's going anywhere, is he, HG?
Look, if we sign someone, then the chances of Hugo leaving this summer increase greatly, as far as I'm concerned. I don't think we're going to be signing a backup. It might be like the Friedel versus Loris situation, where you sign someone in and very quickly the new guy takes over. That would be harsh on Lloris because he doesn't necessarily deserve it. But for the club, if you do get someone in who you think can be the long-term goalkeeper, I think you probably should let Lloris go and try and get some money for him. And it's not a great move for Lloris possibly, and maybe there's nowhere for him to go where he will play regularly, which is what he'll want to do. But it's odd. It's like, I like the idea of looking in advance, but I don't know if. I don't know. Like, I think there are other positions that probably need filling before a backup goalkeeper. Because as much as Joe Hart isn't anyone's favourite, for a backup keeper, he's not bad. I mean, was it over 50 caps for England? I know it's been a while since he played for England, and we all know that he has issues with shots at the near post and the rest of it. But last season, Lloris never got injured, so Hart only played 6-7 games. Didn't start in the Premier League.
Yeah.
You've got experience, and I don't know. So it'll be an interesting one. But because I can see, you're talking about the Atalanta goalkeeper, Golini, and Atalanta have signed another goalkeeper. So I think he's clearly on his way out. So I've said this many a time. I mean, how many bigger clubs need a goalkeeper? Milan don't anymore because they signed the French guy Magnon to replace Donnarumma.
Yep.
So who needs one long term? Maybe Inter. Yeah. I think Inter might need one. So I don't know. But Golini is an option. He's obviously speaks English. Has played in England before. He doesn't count as homegrown, which I think a lot of people were assuming he did because that would make sense. But I don't think he does. So it's it's a weird one.
Makes no sense to me. Makes no sense why you'd replace Hart, who's a very established keeper, for a backup. He's good enough to be a backup goalkeeper. I'm pretty certain for Spurs.
What it does do, I suppose, if you move Hart to be the third goalkeeper, then it allows Alfie Whiteman to go out on loan. Brandon Austin's in America right now. Whiteman needs games. I mean, he's never really played senior football, I don't think. So.
No.
Yeah, if Spurs are going to get anything out of developing Whiteman, then he needs to go and play somewhere because he's not going to play for Spurs most likely. Yeah. But it's an odd one because it's just not an area of massive need. It might be next summer, but this summer, if money's tight, why are we thinking about goalkeepers?
Money's always tight where Levy's concerned, isn't it? HG, let's face facts. Okay, let's talk Romero. Heavily linked today with Romero in the press. I mean, obviously, I'm not sure how much credence that takes, given that Paratici likes to negotiate for about 25 players at the same time. But what do you make of this rumour, HG? Romero, would he be a good fit for Spurs?
We haven't heard this name before, really. He's been at Copa America with Argentina, but we haven't really heard much about it. And then suddenly, Alistair Gold comes out and says that he and Golini, that we're in advanced negotiations for them. He won the best defender of the year for Serie A last year, so that should tell you that he's better than Skriniar. That should tell you that he's better than Tomiyasu. I guess we can be hopeful. He's only young. He just turned 23 a couple of months ago. He's signed for he's on loan at Atalanta right now, but they have the option to sign him, so they could just flip him on. So they sign him for I think 16 million euros. And then sell him on to Spurs, but he's going to cost a lot of money if they sell him on to Spurs. So he's not going to be one of the cheaper options. There'd be nothing in it for Atalanta for them to do that unless they were desperate for the money themselves. But again, if you're going to spend money just to get more in later on, I don't know. So it's exciting because a defender with the reputation that he has, to win that award, I mean, I know it's a new award for Serie A, but to win that award, you have to be doing something right. And so we can hope it's true. With one Argentinian hopefully on the way out, it would be nice to get another one in. We've already lost Gazaniga.
You had to bring Lamella going up.
I didn't say a name. Well,
it's not going to be Lo Celso.
Yeah, and I don't want it to be Lo Celso, obviously, but I didn't say a name, so that you can't hang me on it. So if Romero is the one, then great. But it's just tough to take anything seriously. I think Koundé, none of us thought was ever really likely. Lacroix seems unlikely because they're in the Champions League. Atalanta are also in the Champions League. If I'm a Romero, maybe I don't want to be flipped on. Maybe I'm happy to stay where I am. If Atalanta don't have the money to sign him permanently, then he goes back to Juventus, which is clearly not a bad deal for him either. So we're all excited, but there are so many possible things in play that I don't know. Until I see him at some airport flying to London, and we're all checking the flight tracker of the Tottenham plane again. It seems to me it seems unlikely, but it's a nice rumor and it's a believable rumor, which is I guess what we want, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Tommy Asu getting a lot of press here. But Ian, hello Ian. I know Ian. He's a good lad. Tommy Asu will be a massive surprise to some fans, capable of playing in a number of positions and a very good player. And I've picked that up because he's next on my list, HG. Tommy Asu, we think that's going to be a done deal, don't we? I think he's probably the furthest down the line that we can see. Rumoured between 15 and 18 million quid fee. Excited? I mean, I know Levy is because he's thinking shirt sales bonanza. That's what he's thinking right there.
And he's right, because it would be. He would sell a lot of shirts. I don't know. I think there's another Japanese player at Frankfurt that I know of called Kamada, but I don't know who the main man is. But if Tomiyasu plays Premier League football, he'll be up there for sure. The big thing that is kind of pushing everyone to thinking this could be a done deal is the fact that he wants Spurs. He wants to be in the Premier League. The other teams that have shown an interest, I think it's mostly just West Ham, and I think he sees Spurs as the bigger club. So that shows you that he's a smart man, because we are much bigger than West Ham. I mean, you've seen West Ham's training ground; it's 2 caravans, porter cabins. Excuse me, porter cabins,
and a couple of anvils. Yeah.
So I think Tomiyasu is going to happen. I see what Ian said about him being able to play a number of positions. Every team needs that, right? I don't want to see Doherty playing left back randomly against Liverpool like we saw last season. So if Tomiyasu, again, he's young. Like we do need to get younger. We need to build the next team. There's no point signing someone who's 29. I really believe that. We saw Dele, Eriksson, Son, and Kane play together for what, 5 seasons? It's a huge amount of time, and we saw the benefit of that. So I think it makes sense on every level to go for younger players.
Absolutely. Conde, do you want to talk about him again?
No, I don't think anything's changed. He clearly he wants a bigger club than Spurs. I think he's probably got the reputation to expect a bigger club than Spurs. You could argue that Sevilla right now are probably a bigger club than Spurs anyway. Like, you don't want to move down. We'll pay him more money than Sevilla probably, but I can understand that we're not the most attractive to him. It's one of those things that if Koundé is just waiting and waiting and waiting, then the start of the season will go by and we'll be short. So, if he doesn't want us by now, I think we should move on. Even if he was 5 levels ahead of other defenders, which I don't think he is, but even if he was, you can't
have players that are committed. You got to have players that are committed to the club. If he's not committed to the cause, if he's not thinking, okay, that's a decent move for me. I mean, Spurs might have finished 7th last season and Europa League the 6th the season before, but they are still a massive club in Europe. I mean, look, the Deloitte Money League, we're the 10th biggest, richest club in Europe. Look at the stadium. I know everyone takes the piss out of it, but look at the facilities we've got. Look at the players he'd be playing with: Son, Kane, Lloris, internationals all throughout that team. They're good players, aren't they? They're good players. And
it's funny to me that people talk about other clubs as being sleeping giants, whether it's Newcastle or Leeds or something like that. Spurs have been dormant for 30 years. We're not just sleeping. We are sleepwalking.
We're in a coma.
But we do. We have much more potential than those other clubs that seem to be linked as being the possible next big thing. So hopefully we can convince players of that fact. That might be the tough thing, but everything at Spurs is set up for something amazing. We just need to get the squad right, and we need to get the manager right, and we've struggled for the last few years in getting the right players in.
And we'll see if Nuno can remedy any of that, I guess. The crew?
Yes, please. He's the one that I know the most. He's the one I've seen the most of. I think he's a great defender. I think he's a great player.
Yeah.
I find it difficult to believe that Wolfsburg will sell him this year because they don't need to. I mean, that's just it. Like, they're in the
And they're in
Champions
the
League.
Champions League, yeah.
Yeah, they are in the Champions League. And so they're better players, whether it's him or Weghorst or with the Austrian guy Schlager. Like, I think Weghorst might go because he's only got maybe 1 year left on his deal, so that's a possible. But no, I think that it would take a lot of money for Wolfsburg to sell. It might be a good move because Wolfsburg's new manager hasn't got off to the best start. He's not particularly well liked, but yeah, like, I don't know. I'd love Lacroix to be true, but I think next summer is more likely. Rather, like if we keep Toby for this year and then buy Lacroix next year, I'm all in, right? Like that would be the best solution. But there's a chance that if he does do well in the Champions League this year, then other clubs will be after him. But I like the player, but I find it hard to believe it's going to happen.
One that we're going to chat about anyway. Pixels brings him up. I'd love Damsgaard. Had a very good Euros, it must be said, and I think a lot of people are putting, obviously Euro players in the frame for Spurs. He's not a player we've got a historic interest with, is he, HG? And I've not seen any links realistically for him. Not many anyway. There's like a couple of little articles saying he might sign, but not strongly linked, not strongly fancied. And do you fancy him?
Look, do you know what, when I say like not strongly fancied, what that means is the Red Tops didn't know his name, so didn't make up crap involving him. Like I watched Fab Romano on a pod earlier tonight, and he talked about how Spurs had been scouting him for a couple of years, been following him. I can believe that more than I can that Spurs have had no interest, but I don't know. It's those tournament players we have to be a little bit wary of. Like, obviously, it's a position that we need desperately. Someone who's quite creative. We all remember the free kick he scored against England, but I don't know. I wouldn't be looking towards him if I was in charge, which I still want to be at some point in my life. But yeah, like it's So yeah, like he is a good player. Sampdoria don't need to sell him. It would cost a lot of money. I don't know what the finances are in Serie A. Like, obviously, Paratici knows him well. There are so many things that lend the rumor, but I can't see Spurs going down that route. I'm sure they'll prove me wrong, but I don't know. Damsgaard feels like a bit of a gamble, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And then, someone else on your hit list, I've seen in the pre-show run sheet. Danny Ings. So again, there's a few sketchy reports about this. No firm interest yet, I don't think. But a comment from David King. I read that one. Yeah, I'll come back to that.
Ings is English, which is why I put it up.
Go for it. I mean, I'll tell you my view.
Go
on. It's the same as before. Southampton aren't going to sell him for all the tea in China. And they'll keep him and make him honour his contract even if he leaves for free at the end of it, because it makes sense to do so. The finances, staying in the Premier League gives them about 90 million quid or whatever. And if he goes for 20, well, they may well find themselves relegated, unless they can pick up a starlet striker, which I don't really see. But Danny Ings for you, I mean, I'd love it. Don't get me wrong, I would absolutely love it. Sound like Kevin Keegan, but I can't see it.
You are northern like him, so that makes
sense. I'm getting a bit grey as well. Yeah, HG, tell me I'm wrong.
I don't think you're wrong. Like, Danny Ings wants to go this year. Spurs might be his best option. He might get other options, but you're right. Like, it's difficult to stay in the league if you don't have a striker. Like, I know Chelsea won the Champions League last season, and their top goal scorer had was Jorginho on penalties. So like you can do okay, but yeah, for those clubs down the bottom, a goal scorer is everything. And Southampton could easily be down there. You know, they've lost a few players, not just to us with Højbjerg, but Ward-Prowse might be wanted. Bertrand's gone. Yeah, they're a kind of a candidate for the drop. So if Ings goes, yeah, it's going to be a really tough season for him. So as much as it doesn't make sense financially, when it comes to getting players in, it does make sense. It really does make sense to
Transfer
keep
that
him.
you picked up on there, actually, Bertrand, going to Leicester. That's good
Yeah,
business, wasn't it?
he's a squad player. Like, he's probably not going to play that often. I can't think who their left back usually is, but they have so many that can play both sides. I know Christian Fuchs has moved on. Chilwell's gone. They've got the youngster Thomas. So yeah, they definitely need a specialist in that position. But I don't know if Bertrand's. He's clearly not the future. He's going to be there as a squad player, but he does make them stronger, which is what you want, right?
Nice business for nothing, though, isn't it? That's
Yeah.
the kind of thing we want to see Paratici doing for us. Let's talk about some outs then. So I'll just pick up this one as well because I like this. What about raiding Wolves? Traore. Who would you pick from Wolves, HG? Who would you pick? Would you take Traore, the oiled up, wonderful speedster that he is?
I mean, if it meant that Lamella was leaving, absolutely.
Oh God! Always Lamella.
Yeah. I've been consistent. I have been consistent.
Yeah.
6 seasons, mate. I've been banging on about this for 6 seasons, and he's still around.
Yeah.
It's weird because Wolves, I think, to me, Pedro Neto is probably the one that I would say yes, please. But he's injured, so that's not going to happen this summer. I do quite like Podence. He's not been there very long, but he looks like Eden Hazard, but he's 2-footed and scores goals, and it looks like he has a brain when he's attacking, which I guess is what I love about him. Traore is the opposite. He's got all the pace in the world, can make everyone look stupid, but when he gets into the box, do you really trust him to make the right choice? I don't. So I would probably stay away from it if I'm honest. But
I've seen quite a bit of him, and I think he's certainly matured a lot in the last couple of years. From when he was first on the scene at Wolves, the first season he was at Wolves, he looked terrible. He genuinely looked like someone who would literally run. And it was just a speedster. He hadn't got a clue what was a shit Aaron Lennon would be. And he had that breakthrough season where he just tore holes through defences, and he does appear to have added a lot to his game. So I'd be more than okay with us signing Traore. I've got to be honest, because he does give us he would give us a completely different dimension, different option. Having said that, I think they're going to ask a lot of money for him, and I don't think we're going to want to pay that money. That would be my verdict on that transfer. But who else would you raid? Also Podence, you said, and Neto.
Yeah, Neto. You could talk about Connor Cody because he's experienced and he's a leader and he does talk a great game. And this would be his big move, right? I mean, he's been at Wolves for a number of years now, so I could see Cody being interested. I really could. But yeah, it's all about Wolves, isn't it? What do they want to be? Do they want to be the stepping stone club? If they are, then are Spurs the right stepping stone to sell on to? We don't have the links that we did. I mean, that's not true because Nuno is also a Mendy's client. But yeah, it's I don't know. I don't look at Wolves' team and think, yes, I definitely want you. Really on anyone. Cody would be an upgrade, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I don't know. The advantage of having Cody is that he counts as homegrown. And I think that would be a massive part. But I'm not sure I'd want him playing every game. I don't love him as much as some on the pod do.
Not take Neves?
Yes and no. It's one of those things. I love Neves as a player, but he's going to take Harry Winks' spot.
Yeah, perfect.
He's perfect because he's a better player than Winks. However, he's not going to play. And given the fact that we need to improve the squad that actually plays, improve the team.
Play?
Well, because I think that we might Højbjerg and Dombele might be the two that start in midfield.
Do you think they're better than him?
I think they're different to Neves. Højbjerg and Neves might be a really nice pairing because Højbjerg will do a lot of the dirty work and can pass it forward, and Neves clearly has an eye for goal from distance and is a really good player. I mean, those two really could work, but it kind of means then giving up on Dombele. And yeah, Dombele seems like the person who needs to play regularly to really impose himself on games and be that guy. So yeah, if we're moving Lo Celso further forward, then yeah, sure, bring Neves in. I'd be okay with that. And the fee they seem to want is 35, which doesn't seem too outrageous, really, for a guy that's maybe 24, 25 now. He's not that old.
He's not old. Yeah, he's not old. It would be good business, I think.
So, there's a lot of possibles, but there's no one where I'm thinking, yes, I really would, because we've talked about this many times, but getting rid of players has been Spurs' Achilles heel for a number of years. Not just signing the wrong ones. I mean, that's bad enough, but we haven't been able to shift ones either, and we'll need to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, let's talk outs then. So we've discussed Joe Hart, so I'll move on to Roden. So I don't know who was mentioned it on the chat. Roden strongly linked with a move out. HG, can you see that happening?
It was Brighton that were after him, and you go get that fly. I'm not as high on Roden as a lot of people are. If Brighton have offered 25 million, which was the rumor, I would be trying to up that number, see how much they really want him. But yeah, like if they were to offer 30, 35, then I'm saying yes. As much as Roden is, also young, 23, almost 24. Yes, he counts as homegrown in the Premier League, which is massive. But I don't know. Like if Paratici rates him, or if Nuno rates him, then he'll probably stay. But if they don't think there's much difference, which I don't think there's much difference, then I could see us taking advantage. It's rough on Roden because he's never really had a chance at Spurs, and I get that. But the things that I've seen, he's always felt a bit nervous to me. He's always felt a bit unsure of himself, and I get that from a third or fourth centre back. Maybe that's okay, but people were talking about him needing to be the main man because he's done well for Wales. I just don't buy that. So if Brighton are willing to offer silly money for him, because I think that would be silly money, then great. I'd probably be okay with it.
We're in a COVID climate, isn't it? 35 million quid is like 50 million right now, isn't it? It's a big fee.
And this is it. And the thing with Brighton is that if they are getting 50 million from Arsenal for Ben White, then they've got money to spend. So you could probably ask for a little bit more. Ben White's only had one season in the Premier League, same as Joe Roden. He's played a lot more, and obviously he's been in the England squad, which will bump him up a little bit. But yeah, like if they've got money in their pocket and they need a centre half, which they will do, then it makes sense for them. It makes sense for Potter to get a centre half that he had when he was in charge of Swansea. He knows the player well. I think he gave him his debut. I mean, Potter and Roden is a bit of a love affair there. So yes, I see both sides of the argument, but if they're going to offer 30, 35 million, then sorry, Joe. Thanks for your service, but we can spend that money somewhere else. And I read an article today that Brighton are kind of circling the Chelsea players that don't think they're going to make it. They did that with Tariq Lamptey. They signed him for 5 million because he had 6 months left on his deal and told Chelsea he wasn't going to sign a new one. And there's a few other Chelsea youth players that are super highly rated that think, maybe I'm never going to play for Chelsea, and I'm at an age where I want to play first team football. So Brighton are being relatively smart in the market. I don't think they're going to need to hold on to that 50 million. I think they'll use it quite wisely. So hopefully they use it on one of ours, or even two if they want Lamella, because we'll throw him in.
He's like the add-on. He's like the in a supermarket. He's like the extra free, isn't he? You just take him. We won't even charge you.
Yeah, I'm hard. It is harsh, but the guy is 29.
The guy scores for bonus, HG, for fun.
He does score well. He does score a bonus. We're all going to be grateful for the 5 things that he's done well in the shirt, including kicking. Was it calling Wilshere a pussy? They're not big things. But yeah, I don't think Potter would do that. But still, we are at a stage where if we have to give people away, we may have to just give them away, because I don't know how many are really drawing too much interest.
Yeah, well, talking about drawing interest, I mean, also on the transfer sort of list, we've got Toby, we've got Sanchez, we've got Dyer, who've all basically. I mean, I'm not sure about Dyer being told he can leave, but there's a very good chance that Toby will go, because Toby has expressed an interest fairly publicly in leaving. But the thing is with Toby, HG, he's on over 100 grand a week, big fat contract. He's got another year to run.
2 years. Yeah.
Who's gonna put the money up?
I don't know, if I'm honest. Like, I think if I'm Toby, I
It's a
wouldn't.
strange thing to
Like, the
do,
thing is, like to me, for Toby to come out and say that, the logic in my head says that some team has approached him, and he likes the idea of going to that particular team, or that, like, maybe he's seen what Vertonghen's got, a nice 3-year contract in Portugal, and thought I could do with some of that. That to me makes the most sense. But yeah, like, going on what Ian said, Rodon shouldn't go because Sanchez and Dyer should go first. Look, I can probably agree with that. Like, if you're looking at the players that have been at Spurs and not really proven themselves to be the quality we want, Dyer and Sanchez are higher up on that list than Rodon. But you sell the ones that you can, as awful as that sounds. And if people aren't interested in Dyer and they're not really interested in Sanchez, then and Spurs are looking to raise money, and it's a player that you don't love, then Rodon's the guy. And Toby, like, it's a bit of a joke, really, but I've always said Toby +1, and it hasn't changed. Toby makes other defenders look better.
Well, he's the best defender at the club.
Yeah, and Spurs' record was better with him in the defence last season, markedly better. I mean, not just a little bit, but markedly. So, like, I understand that Toby might want to go, but I can't see it this year, unless it's a bid that knocks Tottenham's head off, and it won't. It won't. So
I tell you, a player it's all gone quiet with is Aurier. So we were talking done deal to PSG not so long ago. I mean, God knows why, if I'm being really honest. But it's all got a little bit quiet on the Aurier front, hasn't it? Are we worried that he might still be there next season?
Look, I don't know if worried is the right word. Like, he's not going to PSG. They've just bought Hakimi for 60 million.
Yeah.
If he went to PSG, he's not going to play. Maybe he's okay with that, but I don't think he would be. Like, if I'm Aurier, I'm thinking, well, I think he wants to get away from Spurs, so he may have to do what Foyt did and, like, extend his contract for a year and go on loan somewhere in the hope that that loan becomes a buy next summer. Yeah. I don't think there's a future for him at Spurs. I don't think there really should be. But again, like, finding someone to pay money for him this summer is going to be tough. It just will be tough. And so Spurs will have to do what they did with Foyt and be a bit more creative. The Foyt deal right now looks like a bad deal for Spurs because we sold him for. I mean, it wasn't insignificant, but we probably could have got. Yeah, like, we probably could have got more money. But the issue that he went was because Mourinho wasn't going to play him, and Mourinho's gone. So, like, it feels like you've given up something that you may not have had to. Yeah. But in Aurier's case, yeah, we may want that to happen. So it might make sense for Spurs to go down that route because, I don't see a big team. Maybe one in Italy might be a bit crazy, but other teams have the leverage when it comes to Aurier, and we may have to just take.
Just saying, we're not talking Lamella again. I've submitted to you. He can go. I'm happy with it. Okay. Harry Winks, he was in the press this week talking about a fresh start under Nuno. Would you be happy for that to happen, HG, or would you be like me, fuming and want him out as soon as possible? No, it was not my hair flicking him at the game the other day. Where do you stand on Winks, HG? We've not really spoke about him much, mainly because it just annoys me. But what's your thoughts?
Like, at best, he's fourth choice. Like, and when it comes to a central midfield berth, even if he impresses Nuno completely, I think Højbjerg is better than him. I want to see Ndombele play here. I want to put Skip ahead of Winks. I'd rather see Skip get the minutes. And if Lo Celso counts as a CM, he would be ahead of him too. So, like, I get he's a Spurs fan. I get he probably wants to stay at the club. But I think for him, really, if he wants to play football, then he needs to go somewhere else. And I don't, whether that's Southampton or whether it's Newcastle or somewhere that's 12th or 13th in the table that are looking to do better rather than get worse, then he'd be a decent signing for them. But yeah, I don't know. Like, if I'm Harry Winks, I like the idea of getting another chance under Nuno, but I think I might be regretting it in September. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But I'd be okay with him going, basically because I think Skip is better, and it's that simple.
Oh, Skip's 100% better. I mean, I called that 4 years ago, to be perfectly honest. I don't know why everyone's wasted the time. If you just listened to me in the first place, They've
So
been
Skip was 16 4 years ago.
yeah, I know.
Yeah. Okay. Look. Okay. Two things. We got two comments. First one by Toxic Headshot. That's a great name. I like
It's a
that.
great name. I like that.
Like if Galini is done, great. I saw that he released a song as a rapper.
You did
He's like
what?
he's got like a rapping name of like Galenius or something. So he's quite a character. But like he's played a lot of games in Serie A, and I think a couple of years ago he was really highly rated and could have gone to one of the bigger clubs, and it just never happened for him. But if that's a done deal, then it does kind of set the cat amongst the pigeons a little bit. Because is he coming in to be the backup? Is he coming in to take over straight away? But like, I'd be surprised. Like Galini probably thinks, let's face it, he probably thinks I've got 1 foot in the door here. Like I might become Tottenham's goalkeeper long term.
Yeah. Lloris is old. He's going to go.
Yeah, and that's a great place to be. Like if you're a goalkeeper that wants to play at the in the biggest games for a massive club, which Spurs are, then okay. But yeah, Galini. Yeah, we'll see. As I said at the start of the show, it's kind of like Friedel and Lloris. When Lloris came, it could be a similar outcome.
Absolutely.
And this last one, sorry, I'm taking over a little bit. Rodon below Dyer and Sanchez in the pecking order? Yeah, he was last season. I mean, like,
he was.
Yeah, he was. I mean, like Mourinho preferred Dyer and Sanchez over Rodon. I don't think he was right to, but I think that right now. Look, Dyer and Sanchez would be the ones that we'd probably prefer to sell. But as I said, 10 minutes ago, if no one's coming in for those players and you want to raise some money, personally, I wouldn't be too upset if Rodon was to go, especially if we got 30, 35 mil. I mean, if Brighton have offered 25, which was the rumor, then let's go. Let's go a little bit higher with that because I think Brighton probably would do it. I don't necessarily think that Rodon is a worse defender than those two, but
it's a difficult one. It is a difficult one because a lot of people are basing his, all of a sudden he's our best defender because he had a few good games for Wales, but he wasn't that great for Wales. The game where they lost, he was all over the shop.
I've said plenty of times, he is the Welsh Sanchez. I don't see much difference to them at all. They're both tall, they're both fast, they're both impulsive. They can get turned really easily. If you're going to keep one, then you keep Rodon because he's homegrown. But if you're looking to raise money and only one of them's getting bids, then you have to consider it. I'm not desperate to sell him, but I just think that given the situation, if we do need the money, then and he's the one wanted, we probably have to go for it.
Yeah, just put a buyback fee in it for me, buyback clause. So if he turns out to be great for Brighton, we've got an option on him. That would be what I would wish in that situation. You don't want to talk about Harry Kane? I've just seen it on your text.
Do you know, like, I mean, people might know, but like, I read The Athletic, and like, I just get bored. Yeah. I just get bored of all the stuff they put out about Harry Kane, and they're doing it about Grealish now too, about how it's like sensible transfers, Grealish to Man City. Who is that sensible for? Maybe for Man City, maybe, but it's not sensible for Villa. And like, does Grealish really need that level of money? I don't know. So the Kane situation hasn't changed. And so like they can write as much fluff as they want, and they can rehash quotes and all the rest of it. Kane can say 20 times publicly that he wants to leave. Tough, mate. Like, you sign the contract. You are at Levy's beck. Kind of like, he has the cards, Levy. I wish it wasn't that way. Like, I wish that our best player didn't want to leave.
Yeah.
But if you want as I said, if you want the freedom to pick and choose your destination when you want to go, then you can't sign long-term contracts. You just can't. 6 years, especially. I mean, that's just great. Without a break clause or without a release fee or anything like that. So look, Kane, I get that everyone's so desperate to talk about it and they want the transfer to happen, but it makes zero sense for Spurs. Absolutely none. Especially in a COVID time when no one has any money. It's not going to happen. I would genuinely be amazed. I would eat this hat I will eat this hat.
What is that?
Huh?
What is that hat?
What do you mean? It's my. I guess it's my my Corbyn.
I thought it was
don't know.
a flat cap peaky blinder hat for a minute.
No. But yeah, because I don't see it happening. I don't think Levy would be that stupid. It would crucify him in front of the fans, and
he's been crucified enough already, hasn't he?
And he doesn't need more of it. I mean, like surely he's gonna want to try and row some of that back and be a good guy again if that's even possible. Yeah. But selling Kane when he doesn't need to, it's a terrible idea. It's just terrible.
He's not going to sell Kane. There's absolutely no way. There's no way Kane's going unless the bid is upwards of £180 million. Now, I saw this as well. Rodon isn't homegrown, is he?
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Can I explain it? Joe Rodon went through the Swansea Academy. Swansea is part of the English League. Therefore, he is homegrown as far as the Premier League is concerned. When it comes to Europe, he's not homegrown because Wales is not in England and Spurs are an English club. That is the difference. But it's like, I don't think any of us really. It's the same with Ben Davies. I don't think any of us really care about the.
You had me there. You had me. I thought RJ was right. So technically, he's kind of right because if we're talking European,
yeah. But the thing, I think
the Premier League is concerned, he is.
I think it was the "do your homework" comment that made me want to set him right,
especially when you're a teacher.
Well, kind of. I get that the rules are a bit unclear, but if you read them, they're not, and I've read them. And so Joe Rodon is homegrown for the Premier League, just like Ben Davies. It's exactly the same with Ben Davies and anyone who came through the Cardiff Academy. Like Aaron Ramsey. Actually, Ramsey's a bad case because he joined Arsenal really young. But like, if anyone goes through the Cardiff Academy and then moves on, then they wouldn't be homegrown for Europe either. That's how it works. UEFA see England and Wales as different countries, and the Premier League don't. Because Swansea play in the English League and Cardiff play in the English leagues. If it was Barry Town, then they wouldn't count because they don't play in England. But yeah, so anyway, that's that. He is definitely homegrown as far as the Premier League is concerned.
Corrected. There you go. Oh, I enjoyed that. Right, let's take a few comments then. HG, which one do you want to?
You pick them. You pick them. I've not seen them.
Die counts as not homegrown.
That's right, because he grew up in Portugal and he went through the Portuguese system, which is not in England. Therefore, it doesn't count in either Europe or the Premier League.
There you go. That's that put to bed. Napoli still wants Sissoko, and we're like, Sissoko. Let's talk Sissoko. He's got to go, hasn't he? I mean, he's had his time. He's been shit for the whole duration of the time at Spurs. He had one little renaissance moment under Pochettino. Then he got to the cup final and cost us any chance at the European Champions League. Within about 8 minutes. So for me, for that reason only, Sissoko, you are done. Out of here. Avanti. But the only question is, where the hell's he going?
Yeah,
do Napoli want him? I mean, come on.
Look, I'd be surprised. Like I realise that Italians do see players going into their mid-30s is not a major problem. Like Diego Godin's still playing, Serie A football at 36, 37. I'd be surprised. Napoli have some really good midfielders. Like Sissoko's not going to play there either. It just strikes me as it's a somewhat believable rumor, but it's not believable to me. I can't see Napoli wanting him. I think they'll want someone younger, especially considering Spurs are going to want money for him. He turns 32 next month. Does Sissoko? It's a tough sell. He
feels a lot older. I've got to be honest.
Well, yeah, maybe. Like we all know that Sissoko at times can look decent, but if that's basically your selling point, and we're paying him a huge amount. It is time, please. But yeah, I don't know who's going to take him because, again, if I'm a club that's not Spurs and I'm looking at Spurs players thinking, I'll take one of their, unwanteds because they might be better than what we've got. Maybe Sissoko might not even reach that kind of benchmark, but certainly not $100,000 a week or whatever he's on. It's like extending his deal, which happened, I think, under Pochettino's watch, but it was a terrible, terrible move because he's got 2 years left and yeah, who's going to take him? Oh, it's great for Sissoko, but not necessarily for Spurs.
If you're watching for the first time tonight, please do hit the subscribe button, the like button, and the share button. Right, I'm going to go for this one from Brandon. Did you have something to say, HG?
Well, yeah, because I didn't talk about Insigne, which was also in the last question.
Insigne, yeah.
Yeah, like Insigne's 29, almost 30.
Yes,
we all know what he can do.
Yeah.
He'll play in a similar position to Son. It would strengthen that side absolutely. He'd be cheap because, as the guy said, he's only got a year left on his deal. I'm not sold, frankly. I get that he could be amazing. He could. He's 5 foot. I mean, he's tiny. I mean, that shouldn't matter, but it might matter a little bit more. But he's quick, and he can get around players in the same way that Sterling can. The goal he scored against Belgium was probably one of my favourites of the Euros. It was a wonderful, wonderful shot, and that's what he loves to do. But I don't know. I think Insigne it would be a strange one. I think it's journalists putting 1 and 1 together and getting 11 and then trying to sell it as 2. It's not for me.
Okay, if we go 5 at the back, which midfielder is that the worst news for? Who is the odd man out? It's a good question because obviously we all think we know what Nuno is going to do and play 3 centre-backs and wing-backs. How does that reshape the midfield? What does that look like, HG?
It's simply, I think it gets rid of the number 10, right? I mean, that's like if you're going for a 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3 with a creative midfielder, and you go for a 3-4-3, then that number 10 either has to move to the side a little bit, or you have 2 direct wingers that play either side of Kane. So I think it lowers the opportunities for a central player, but yeah, I don't know, because to me, Dele was always best coming off the left-hand side anyway. So if you play Dele on the left and Son on the right, or Dele on the, I mean, in a Conference League game, you could probably go Dele off the left and Lo Celso off the right, and allow the fullbacks to really bomb forward. So it's one of those things, because we don't really have a number 10, a true creative Eriksen type player. Going 3 at the back doesn't really hurt Spurs too much. It just means that whatever number 10 or whatever creative player that we have won't have wingers either side of him. He might have fullbacks making those runs. But to me, that's the weird thing. I think Winks in a midfield 2 might struggle. But again, with 3 centre-backs behind you, the whole point is that you don't have to struggle. You don't have to worry so much about your defensive duties. Yeah. I think Dombele would work really well with 3 behind him if it's a big game. But maybe we wouldn't need that in a I don't want to say easy game, but in a game that maybe we're at home and expected to take charge of and go out and win it. So yeah, like you could make the odds that Dele is the odd man out, but I think that Dele and Bergwijn, like if Lamela and Lucas go, which I would like to see, then those 2 players would become kind of the wide attacking midfielders, similar to what we saw Mason Mount do for England, where he was ostensibly the number 10, but was actually having to play, I think, to the left or to the right of Kane, because they had not Henderson, Phillips and Rice behind him.
Okay. Well, I tend to agree with you. I don't think. I think it just depends on who we're playing, really, doesn't it? I don't think we'll play that formation all the time. I think a lot of people are assuming we're going to adopt this back 3 as a regular thing. I'm not sure if that's true.
Honestly, I don't mind the idea. I really don't, because even when we saw Spurs at their best, the whole 4-2-3-1, or it was usually one of the midfielders would drop in, and then you'd have Jan on one side and Toby on the other, and we basically played with a back 3 then, and we were pushed high up the pitch. If we were to do that, but we started with a back 3, then fair enough. I don't really have any issues with it, but there are going to be times that maybe if our opponents are only playing 1 striker, we don't need 3 centre halves, or if we do, then the 2 that are on the outside of the formation need to be comfortable to move forward with the ball and pass the ball and can do that. If you ask Sanchez to be an outside centre-back in that system, he's going to struggle. He doesn't have the passing range. Alderweireld can do it. Dyer at times looks okay, but I don't really trust him in that. Davies has a better passing range and obviously has more experience of being that left-sided centre back. But there are, I don't know. I don't mind three at the back. I really don't. But if you're going to do it, then those wing backs have to be attacking threats. And not just capable of it, but actually being it all the time and have the ability to scare people. Because like Walker and Rose didn't have much more than pace, but the pace that they had was so good that it scared teams. And when we were pushing them back and playing the high press, the pace was almost. I mean, they spent most of their time running backwards if it was needed, not running forwards at pace.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
You'd like to think, though. You'd like to think with Reguilon and Doherty. Those two are really wing backs. They're not full backs. They are wing backs. So it'll be refreshing to see. If we do adopt that formation, it'll be really refreshing to see those two. I think they could have a big season. I'm convinced they could have a big season.
Yeah. I think, I mean, what is it? First game is Man City, right? Like we're gonna have to have pace in that team. Because pace will be the one thing that scares City. If we go on the break, we have to have pace. We've beaten them with Mourinho doing the same way. We usually get decent results against them by playing that way. Like Doherty is not fast, but he's a smart attacking player who gets in the right positions when we're dominating the ball. So City may not be the game for him, but there will be chances. Like I would like to see us play three at the back most of this season, because I think even if we don't sell any of the defenders that we've got, I still think we've actually got we've got the personnel to play it quite well.
Okay, well, we've been going just nearly an hour, HG, so it's just getting hotter and hotter in this bank. I think it's the lighting, So
there is one thing.
Go for it.
RJ67, 100%. I think both of us agree with you on that. Those guys have to go.
Absolutely. Aurier, Winks, Sanchez, Lamela. I wouldn't argue with it. I wouldn't argue with it at all. I think there isn't a place for any. I mean, they're all squad players that aren't very good. That would be my summary. That they've all had a fair crack of the whip at Spurs, and unfortunately have not sort of made it ultimately. And it's taken the management at Spurs 5-6 years to draw the conclusion on a couple of them, which is even more worrying, really, isn't it? If you're new to to watching the YouTube channel, you will love our podcast, available on all good providers, including Apple Music, Spotify, and Podbean. So do give that a try. We'll be back on Friday with any news updates from Spurs, anything in the news. I can't diss Fabrizio. We might have him on the show sometime.
Again, it's another thing I agree with RJ67 about. This is absolutely true. What is he called on Twitter? The tap-in merchant. He may know more than most of us, but in theory, I don't know. I think I know what he's talking about. Romano does his Twitch that he likes to put out.
Here we go.
He was on Matt Hayes' thing earlier. Yeah, I don't know. He's a big name, and obviously he knows more than I do when it comes to what could possibly happen. But I think that someone like Alistair Gold, when it comes to Spurs, is probably more connected with what's going on. Romano may be connected with agents, but yeah, it's agents have their own conflict of interest as to what they share. But I don't know. I liked the comment.
I'll just do this one before we go. Some dumb people say Bergwijn should play a wing back. What do you think? No, he shouldn't. He should be at the top end of the pitch. He has got an eye for goal, although he's been very goal shy in the last season, certainly for Spurs. HG, any advance on Bergwijn?
I do like Bergwijn. I think he's a really intelligent footballer, and that means a lot to me. Look, I wouldn't be wanting it. I saw someone say Lamela should be a DM. No, but this is a better idea than that. If Bergwijn, let's say, if Tomiyasu came to the club and was playing as the right-sided centre-back, and we know that he's comfortable playing right-back, then in theory we could, move everyone across. The left wing-back goes to left-back, and then you have a back four, and Bergwijn can move forward and be a winger at times too. I could see that. I've seen what Hudson-Odoi play as a wing-back for Chelsea and looks terrible, but because of how they play the game, he actually spends most of his time attacking. He's not a defender. He's not really asked to defend. So I could see possibly Bergwijn being asked to play that role, but he's not a defender. So if we were defending deeply and he was being asked to play right back, we'd be in trouble. But again, depending on the opponent, depending on the formation they're playing, I could see it possibly happening. But yeah, like Oakville, I don't think he should be. I think it could happen, but I wouldn't be looking for it to happen. No.
No. So please do subscribe, like, share. All of that helps us. And we do have a great Patreon service as well. Details are in the ticker below, just there. HG, thanks very much for joining me this evening. It's always a pleasure to talk on a hot.
No. Oh no, you've cut out. And look, I don't know if you can hear me, but I'll just end it like this. Caller and I really enjoyed your support tonight. Thank you so much. Come on, you Spurs, and we'll have another one pretty soon for you. Good night, everyone.